Hey, 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 hey. Welcome back to the Bojoul channel. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the home of self-care, wellness, and every and anything that's going to help you to become a greater and more improved version of who you already are. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, I want to go right into my topic because it's something that I have been having conversations with people for years about. And I finally kind of put it together in like one little box, I guess. But it's all about cost. Cost and price, right? Price is the value that someone sets on a service, good, or any type of exchange. It is the price, it is the request that they're making of someone else in order to obtain whatever it is they have, right? So that's price. But cost, right? Cost is what you have to sacrifice, give up, exchange in order to get what they have to give. And oftentimes, as it pertains to our self-care, we have to weigh the price and the cost to see if it even makes sense, to see if the scales balance, if what is costing you is worth the value that a person sets on a certain thing. So here's what I'm trying to say. Just because someone sets a certain value on something or they make demands of you in order to get something, that doesn't mean that you have to agree and acquiesce and give them whatever it is that they're asking. For instance, you go to a store, you see an item, a sweater, regular basic sweater, they want $100 for it. You have to immediately make a decision if I want to sacrifice or give that amount of money for that particular sweater, right? That's just an example. But even deeper in terms of self-care, when we have to give so much of ourselves to a relationship, to a job, to a friendship, to anything, you have to weigh if what I'm going to get in return is balancing the cost or what I have to give, what I am giving, what I am sacrificing. And I've had so many conversations over the years, and it's amazing to me that these have been random people, different states even, and we've always talked about cost and price. And I want to go over maybe 5 points today that will kind of give you an indication whether what it is that it is costing you for whatever you're doing, work, family, friends. Because here's the thing. People say, oh, I'll give anything for my family. But if you lose your life for your family no longer have you. So what are you really doing? Your family needs you well and present. If that's the best way to serve your family, well and present. And if you're doing something that is draining or depleting you or minimizing your quality of life or minimizing the value that you can give your family, it's counterproductive. It's not really giving you your end result that you're working so hard towards. So I always want you to keep in mind cost. Cost is what it is going to pull from you, what it is going to allow you or demand of you to give. I want to give you 5 ways, just an indication when you know that you are giving too much, right? So I put I made a few notes here. So, one, if whatever it is that you're doing, right, is constantly causing you mental drain and it impacts your overall mood every time you do it. I remember, and I'm going to give you an example. I remember one time I was trying to be a part of a group. It was a social group, right? And I wanted to be a part of this group because I felt like it was going to help me in terms of like getting to certain schools and different things for my child. And so it was a group that I wanted to be a part of. And the demands that was made on me and even the way I felt when I was in that group, it made me feel less than I knew that I was. But I continued to go because I was like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want to get this for my child, I want to get this for my child, or I want to be in a position that it'll be easier for me to move my child into different, programs or schools or whatever the case may be. Anyway, after a while, I started to feel like I am diminishing. I don't even know who I am anymore. When you are giving so much of yourself that you don't even know who you are, that you drained out mentally, cognitively, you can't even focus. Like it's pulling so much from you. You have to reconsider your cost. Because at the end of the day, some things are not even worth it. You think it is. But when it's depleting your resources that you need just to function in life, you have to take a second look. One of my main indicators is if something costs you your peace, it is way too expensive. Oh my goodness. I can't emphasize that one enough. If it costs you your peace, you have overpaid. I don't care what the item or the exchange is, you have overpaid. Psychologically, when something is pulling from you psychologically and now you're persisting in these negative thoughts and this place of anxiety, and it affects your mental health significantly. Like you're on edge. The way your mind start to process and things start going in your mind, like you're not even yourself. You don't even recognize yourself anymore because of the cost. Sometimes people think they need medication, but a lot of times all they need to do is pull themselves away from certain situations and they'll see that their equilibrium comes right back. The body knows how to go through this homeostasis where it brings balance back. Wherever it's off, it has a way of kind of balancing you back. But you cannot continue to be in certain atmospheres and you think that you're going to be balanced. You have to proactively pull away from certain things in order to gain your balance. The cost is too much. Physically, if you notice that your health is declining, you don't even have energy anymore. Even the energy to do the things that you want to do because of that thing or that commitment that you have been willing to give of yourself, that costs too much. It costs too much. I see people that are so, successful in certain fields, and at the end of it all, it's like they cannot even enjoy all of the things that they strived for because mentally, physically, psychologically, they have declined. And now they have achieved what they worked so hard for, but they don't even have the wherewithal or even the strength to even enjoy it. So what is that? 4, when you know something has cost you too much, it impacts your relationships. You don't even have time to deposit or to feed those important relationships that you know are lifetime relationships. I'm not talking about just regular associations. I'm saying lifetime friendships and relationships that you know has sustained you over the years, and there has always been a positive exchange, and now all of a sudden you've made a certain commitment, and the cost is that your relationships are now declining too much. It costs too much. It's okay to say things cost too much, and you have to be diligent enough to recognize when things cost you too much. And when you're able to say these things and be able to advocate for these for yourself, that I no longer can do this because the payout, the exchange does not make sense. And the last thing is when you find yourself consistently unhappy, when you're even in the mix or in the function of whatever that cost is, you are now engaging in that and you're consistently unhappy. Like you have this overwhelming sense of sadness or overwhelming sense of discontentment. It's costing you too much. It's draining you, literally draining you. It's draining you. This is what happens when you become self-aware. And that's what self-care is all about. You being aware of the things that are serving you and that are not serving you. You have the responsibility. My mother, she used to always tell me, if you don't take care of yourself, who else will? It is your responsibility to care for yourself. And caring for yourself extends to that place where I'm mentally incoherent. I'm psychologically incoherent because of this thing that I'm connected to, or because of this thing that I've committed myself to. It has to make sense. The pieces have to fit together. And if they do not, it is nothing wrong. There is no shame. There is no blame. And removing yourself from situations that don't serve you, that is a major act of self-love and self-care and self-appreciation and self-awareness. It's your responsibility. And when you neglect these things and you continue to pour into things that it's not even guaranteeing you a return that's worth what you're giving, but the sacrifice is no bueno. In my life, I have seen a lot of things. And when I look back in hindsight, I see myself engaging in a lot of activities that did not serve me and that depleted me. But I continued to do it because that's what everybody else was doing, or I didn't want to disappoint anybody, or I just didn't want to be the disturbance in the normal scheme of things. But as I've gotten older, I realized it's not my responsibility to keep everybody else comfortable, especially not at the sake of my own self-care journey. I told you the self-care journey is real. It is powerful and it evolves. And if we're being honest with ourselves, it's a lot of things that we need to let go. Sometimes it's just hard to let go. But if you don't let go of it, it's going to let go of you. One of my favorite verses in the scripture is, except the Lord build the house, they that labor, labor in vain. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're engaging in, first and foremost, if that is not the path that God wants you to be on, it's going to be a hard road ahead anyway. And even if you get to where you're going, you're not going to find the contentment and the peace and the joy that you are imagining. It's a mirage. You got to be where you have to be. How about that? And first and foremost, what does God want me to do? Where does he want me to be? And here's the thing. We have these senses in ourselves where we are aware of certain things intuitively, but for some reason, we have a tendency to ignore them. You ignore your intuitive yearnings and knowings. Why? They're there for a reason. They're divine. God put them there for you, like to alert you. Something is off. Something is wrong. This is not good. You have to be mindful of that. You have to respect that. That's your protection. That something is draining you dry. And before long, it will. But you got these signals inside of your body saying, hey, yo, I feel wait. And even if, and see, the point of this conversation is to consider and to examine the exchange that you're going to get for what you're giving. If it does not add up, the math has to math. If it doesn't add up, what are we doing? Don't be afraid to pull away. Hey, this is not for me. I thought it was, but it's not. And respectfully, I decline. I respectfully. And this is self-care, baby. This is self-care. When you look at the cost and you realize that what I am sacrificing is not worth the exchange that I'm going to get, my God, that's what you call the real self-awareness. So cost and price is completely different, but just know that if anything costs you your peace, your sanity, your good peace of mind, it is too expensive. I don't care what, who, where, when. Too expensive. You were not put here to be miserable and sad. And even though it looks like a lot of people around you are experiencing these things, listen, if you accept that as your portion, that's you. But I know that's not my portion. No. That doesn't even feel right for me. I'm going to respect that intuitive voice within me that's saying, no, too much. Overload. This is the Bojoul channel. This is the home of self-care, wellness, and anything that'll help you become the best, greatest version of yourself. And guess what? Sometimes feathers have to be ruffled in order to establish that. And that's okay too. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your attention. And just remember that self-care is most certainly the best care. Later.